Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm wanting to I'm wanting to educate the masses about the whole concept, well, actually, the Hoeology and the Pimpology behind having a work wife or a work husband. There is a psychology, Hoeology, Pimpology behind it, and I'm going to be breaking it down here today in this video. Some people ask the question, would you ever allow your man, and I'm speaking as a woman in this case because I'm in fact female, in case we didn't notice. I just want to explain that I'm a woman in fact, so I'm just speaking from that perspective. Obviously, do I condone that lifestyle? As a Christian, I do not. But there are people that engage in this lifestyle, so I just want to kind of break it down, and I just kind of want to break down the dynamics behind all that, what that stuff really is, what it really means. The question has been asked, and I've seen videos where people are asking the question about, would you ever let your man have a work wife? Would you ever would the husband ever let his wife have a work husband? Da, da, da. And I'm going to speak for myself, and this is what I'm going to say for me. A man that really loves you is not going to want to have a work wife or a work girlfriend. He's just not going to do it. And that's going to be my foremost. However, I also am a believer that I don't control people. I don't control people's behavior. If I'm in a relationship with a dude and at any moment he thinks it's okay to have a work wife, I would let him do it. And I'm going to tell you why. I would let him because that would be unto me a sign that you're no longer my boyfriend or my husband, whatever the relationship is. That means that the relationship is over. Because that is one of the first steps to cheating. And I want to explain the Hoeology behind that is harem building. He is trying to build a harem. The Hoeology behind that is, again, the harem aspect. The wife is the main girl. She may or may not even know about the work wife. And then, of course, he more than likely has other women that he has in his orbit that he's benefiting from. He likes to be surrounded by many different women when it comes to getting his needs met, whether it be psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, da-da-da-da-da. That is literally a breeding ground for literally a harem dynamic, where everybody is sleeping with everybody on the job. The wife may or may not know it. And the man, the pimpology of it is the man is he is presenting himself. He has placed himself as the pimp, and everybody else are basically hoes under him. He may not say that out of his mouth, but that is the dynamic. And the wife, is literally the madam, and the ladies at work and all these other ladies that he keeps around him, they're the hoes. Now, I'm not calling these women that. I'm just saying this is how these men think. They may not say it, but that's how they think. And so I think it's good to understand the Hoeology and the Pimpology behind these types of dynamics. And so when these things are going on and the math is not mathing, you know that it is trigonometry. We know that trigonometry is the language of those involved in the hookup, hoe culture, which is really what this is. What I'm explaining to you is just another side of the hookup, hoe culture. And what that really is, hookup and hoe culture is so mainstream now that you have to know how to recognize it so that you don't end up in situations like this without knowing it. Now, if you decide that that's the type of dynamic that you want, do I condone it? Obviously not. But if you're going to do something like this, at least be informed so that way you're not tricked into something. But I mean, obviously, I don't condone that type of lifestyle, but I think it's good to know what you know so that way you can recognize it. But know that these dynamics, it operates like a pimp and prostitute dynamic. He positions himself as pimp. The wife is she being the main girl, she's the head, she the head hoe. I mean, again, I'm not saying that's what she is, but that's his view. And the other women they're the low ranking hoes. The work wife is the lower ranking hoe. And unfortunately, a lot of these women, it becomes a dynamic where you got one or more women fighting for the position of the head courtesan, which is what the wife is. They want to be promoted to, it's very much reminiscent of, when emperors, they have harems, and you got women that are fighting for the position to be the higher ranking concubine, or you got some that are ambitious enough to want to be empress. If you actually look at medieval China, I'm trying to think, I think they had a couple of empresses, at least one for sure. She went from concubine to the ruling empress. Turkey is also another example I would think of. As far as I know, I think I know of at least one woman that she went from concubine to the ruling sultana of Turkey itself. But that's the same dynamic in this work husband, work wife situation. The pimpology is the man applying the manipulative psychological warfare and tactics, because so that he can have hoes. He wants to be able to have access to more than one woman. Prince Ella has a book. It's called 50 Shades of Men. Obviously, we know where she got that title from. That movie series, 50 Shades of Grey. I've seen those movies. Very interesting. And she has many different. In that book, she talks about the 50 different archetypes of men, and I don't think she has this in her book. I want to add to it. The harem builder. I don't know if she has that in her book though. I actually have not read her book, but I really need to read that. I bet you it's good too. But might need to be 51 Shades of Men, the harem builder. Mm-hmm. The wannabe pimp, that one. So I need women to be aware. I just know for me, if you call yourself my dude, and you're out here trying to have all these new female friends, work wives, close relationships at work or just in any dynamic with women, I would absolutely let you have it. I would not argue with you about it. I'd let you have it. But I'd also remind you that, okay. Well, actually, no, I probably wouldn't even tell you. I'd be like, okay, so this means I can have a work husband. So, that's what you're doing. I'm following suit. The difference is, though, I'd actually dump you and never speak to you again, and you'd be blocked on all my social media. And then I'd go, those guys that you didn't have to worry about me talking to, now, all bets are off. So that means I can go talk to those guys now. And so that's my mentality about it. So absolutely. And another thing that's been discussed in these YouTube streets is about men wanting to, they'll literally marry women, they'll date women that they know very well, they're not into threesomes, they're not into bringing other people into the bedroom, but these men they'll date and they'll marry these women, get into relationships, committed relationships with them, only to years later talk about wanting to bring somebody else into the bedroom. Sometimes the women go along with it, sometimes they don't. And what ends up happening every single time, whenever these men do this, the relationship ends every single time. Because what ends up happening is these men are trying to open the relationship because they want to have the free reign to cheat. But what ends up happening is the woman ends up getting more prospects than he does. And then the men get jealous and now they want to close it up. And it was just interesting because I didn't know anything about this. It was just interesting to learn. I didn't realize just how common it was that it happened this way. But I've learned that 9 times out of 10, if a man is wanting to open up the relationship, I would absolutely assume, just like with the work wife situation, I would assume the relationship is over and I would treat it as such. I would never have sex with you again. I would block you, I would cut ties with you, and I would let you go bring other women into whatever type of relationship, because it wouldn't be on my dime. I would absolutely let you go be with other people. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it would not be a problem for me because I would cut you off and you'd never see me again. It wouldn't be enough for me to be incognito. As a African myself, I would have to be incognito. If I'm going to compare myself to a predatory animal, and I don't mean it in a predatory way because I'm not a predatory personality, wolves are excellent at being escape artists and disappearing. That would be me. You want to bring another person into the relationship, just like that wolf, I would escape and I would disappear. You'd never see me again. I wouldn't be incognito, I would be incognito. And I would let you go foster whatever relationships that you want to. I would absolutely let you do it. I wouldn't argue, I wouldn't fuss, I wouldn't fight. I would absolutely let you go do it. I wouldn't. And I would, of course, understand at that moment the relationship is done. We are no more. Because you got into a relationship with me and you understood that I wasn't like that. You understood that I wanted monogamy and I didn't want, that polyamorous relationship. And these men do this on purpose. They'll get into relationships with women that they know aren't into that, and it's the intent, again, the pimpology, him positioning himself as a pimp and trying to coerce you into doing sexual things that he knows you're not into and he knows that you're not comfortable with. That is the pimpology behind it. Positioning himself as a pimp. The trigonometry aspect is him trying to trick you into doing that. The hoeology is him trying to position you as a hoe, him dehumanizing you and relegating you to the position of a hoe that you didn't ask to be in. I understand that there are sex workers. I'm not bad-mouthing sex workers. I'm not bad-mouthing their profession. Obviously, do I condone that lifestyle? No, I don't. But I do understand that there are people that do it. Have at it. Do I condone it? No. But here's the thing. The difference is this. You engage in that lifestyle and you're in a relationship with somebody who knows that. And you have a relationship around that dynamic. But it's something else entirely when a man will knowingly get in a relationship with someone, you know that woman is not like that, but now you're trying to turn her into something that she's not. Hoeology, pimpology, trigonometry at work. Attempting to trick you into doing stuff that you were not into. And then they'll have the audacity to get mad if the woman agrees to it and she's getting all this attention from possibly men and women. It never works out. Never works out in the guy's favor, for sure. Because he they often don't think that their wives are actually going to get attention from not just men, but possibly even women. So I just know for me that if a man ever approached me with that kind of stuff, I've not really experienced that a lot. So but what I will say is this. I would assume, because like I said again, I'm not sexually active with you outside of marriage, so if I'm getting to know you and then you want to bring up the possibility of other people, first and foremost, I would be 100% okay with you engaging in that lifestyle because number one, I'm not going to engage in it with you. You already knew I wasn't like that, so my answer on my end is going to be no, but I'm perfectly happy with letting you do it because I know I'm never going to speak to you again. Any chance of any relationship? Done. So I'd be perfectly happy letting you do it. Dang, what was I going to say? Because I had... Here was my train of thought. Another thing I would also assume is if you're if you're talking to me about bringing another person into the relationship, obviously I'm going to assume that you've either cheated already or you're trying to set up scenarios where you can cheat without guilt. Another thing I'm going to assume is you're not good in bed. I'm also going to assume you're not good in bed. I'm absolutely going to assume that. And so, because I ain't had sex with you, so I'm going to assume that you're not good in bed. And so, I'm going to be like, and so my answer will be yes. I'm going to be like, I am perfectly okay with you going and dating and being and sleeping with other people. But then, you're going to be blocked on all my social media, and I will never speak to you again. But I would more than happily let you go sleep with other people. It's like men, trying to date women that they know don't go to strip clubs. They know you don't entertain sex workers, but they want to be able to entertain sex workers. They want to be able to go to strip clubs and do all that crazy stuff. I've been listening to women's stories pertaining to this. I'm only going to speak for myself. I don't date men that engage in that, obviously. You have to find these things out about these people before you get too deep in a relationship with them. And my mentality about it is this, as just with everything else, I am more than happy to allow you to engage with sex workers. I'm more than happy. Because my thoughts are going to be that, okay, if you need to deal with sex workers, then that would be my thoughts are going to be, that's a good idea. This guy acts like there aren't really hot male sex workers that I can't go see. So I'm going to be like, okay, go see them. Go see them. And if I at any moment am told something like this, so if I find out something like this, and I have to, in my mind, think about going to see other male sex workers that are hotter than you, my thoughts are, I might as well just dump you and go be with a guy who looks better than you. He's not a sex worker, he's not a stripper, but he sure as heck can move like one. Like, I can't pull a guy like that. So I would happily let you go pay women to touch you. Meanwhile, I can just go naturally attract a guy that's bigger, stronger, taller, better looking, better body, muscles, and knows how to move like a stripper. He's not one, but he knows how to move like one. So yes. So to answer your question, my answer would absolutely, if I were in a relationship with a dude that were to approach me like this, I would absolutely say yes. My answer would be yes, because he's an adult. He can do whatever he wants to. If I tell him no, all he's gonna do is do it behind my back. So my answer would be yes, and my understanding would be that the relationship is over. I have explained the Hoeology and the Pimpology behind the whole situation. I am not going to be one of many hoes in his harem. I'm not going to be one of many concubines in this orgy. I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not willing to fight other women to be your main girl. I'm the main girl, and I'm the only girl. And that's it. At any moment you want to make inappropriate comments about other women, at any moment you express any desire to be with somebody other than me, I will absolutely let you do it. And you will never see me again. Boom! Did I scare you? That's going to be me. Disappearing like Batman. Gone. You will never see me again. But the answer is absolutely yes. I would let you go do what you do with other people because I don't have control over you and I have no control over what you do. I would let you do it. But you would never see me again. And I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I have sexually transmitted infections and or sexually transmitted demons. I don't want it. I don't want the drama. And that's why it's very important. I can't say this enough. Before getting too deep in a relationship with a person, you really must take your time and get to know them so that way you can get to know what it is that they're into. This is why when I tell people I am very quick to block people, I have fine-tuned discernment. I am very quick. I can see right through things. When I put down a boundary, if I'm dealing with a dude, I'm getting to know you, I put down a boundary. And you so much as breathe in a disrespectful If you so much as breathe in a disrespectful way in my direction, I will block you. I am literally that person. You cut eyes in a way that makes me uncomfortable, I will block you. I am that person. We talk about, for men, the bar is so low that it is in hell. Well, that's like my tolerance. My tolerance is so low that it is in hell. You walk towards me in a way that makes me uncomfortable. I will block you. If I tell you no, and if I see the teeny weeny little muscles in your face move to show your displeasure, to show that quick little upset muscles face that I see, I'll block you. My tolerance is so low that it's just like the standards for men. It is so low it is in hell. It gets lower the older I get, if that's even possible. But I just want to speak about me and just what my position is on this. I have no control over nobody else. I don't control nobody's lifestyle, and I need women to understand that. Stop trying to control what other people do, men and or women alike. I mean, obviously the same applies to men. I'm just not a man. I speak from a woman's perspective, that's all. I'm not saying all men are this way. You got women that do it too. See, men are able to cheat because there are a lot of women out there willing to cheat with them. So we can't put all the blame on the men, and we can't say that the men are just, and I've said it time and time again. You know, women like to point fingers at the men, and well, the men sleep around this, men sleep around that. And it's like, well, ma'am, they're not sleeping around by themselves. There are lots of women who are willing to engage in the practice with them. They're willing to engage in them, but not only women, but we understand that a lot of these men are DL. So these men are messing with men too. So you got to find this stuff out about these people before getting too deep into relationships with these people. You need to understand what their sexual habits are. I've been able to have conversations with dudes, and I can already tell just by talking to you, you and I are not sexually compatible. I can just tell by talking. That would probably need to be a whole nother video. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood the Hoeology and the Pimpology behind all this. You just have men out here. They just want to build women too, and you got women too, because women are helping, they're enabling. You got people out here, men and women alike. They want to build a kingdom of hoe-baggery, and that's what they want to do. That kind of kingdom, they want to hoard them. That's what some people want. I have no control over that. But I have control over whether I do or don't engage. But the sinister thing about this lifestyle is that not only has it become mainstream, but people have gotten manipulative and strategic into introducing this lifestyle in such a way. It's so covert that you can't see it. So you have to really fine-tune your discernment, so that way you can discern when somebody is trying to utilize trigonometry, Hoeology, and Pimpology over you, because it is literally, it's gotten so mainstream, and they've gotten so manipulative and covert in introducing it into the mainstream in such a way to you can't even notice it. You don't even notice it. And so you got to have that godly discernment, and I would tell any person to make sure that you sharpen your discernment and fine tune it, so that way you're not being tricked. If the math ain't mathing, that is trigonometry. You better believe that's what it is. When the man is positioning himself as a pimp, that is Pimpology. When he is trying to position you as the hoe, that is Hoeology. When women are knowingly or unknowingly acting as the hoe, that is Hoeology. Know what it is, know what you're dealing with. I know what I know because hoe culture, hookup culture, because it rules the day, I've had to study it, and it's helped me. And as I've studied what it is, I understand that it has its roots in pimp and prostitute culture. And you need to be aware of that. You need to study that culture, so that way you know that a lot of these tactics that these men are using, they're using the tactics of someone who is a pimp. And they're trying to relegate you to the position of a prostitute or a sex worker or a hoe. And ideally, they want you to be an unpaid one at that. Now, I don't condone sex work, but at least those people are being paid. Don't be an unpaid sex worker. Obviously, I wouldn't want you to be a sex worker at all, but don't be out here giving your unpaid labor, especially to people that don't deserve it. Know what's going on. And then also too, it also has its roots in prison culture. You have a lot of men that they run their marriages like it very much has the dynamic of prison culture, gang culture, where he sees himself, obviously in prison you have the warden that's over the prisoners, and that's a lot of them, they position themselves as that in their marriages. He's the warden, the rest of y'all are my prisoners, and he treats the wife and the children like you guys are my prisoners. That's not a relationship, guys. The dynamics I'm describing right now, that's not a relationship. And you should never be in a relationship with someone that makes you feel like a prostitute, a hoe, or a prisoner. I don't mean to be too blunt, but I think we need to be real and honest. And as someone, I've studied these different, obviously I've studied prison culture, jail culture, and we live in a world where, unfortunately, and I don't even think it's men's complete fault that they have been miseducated from childhood. They have been miseducated to basically, to be a man is to position yourself as a pimp, to engage with women the way a pimp would with a prostitute or a hooker. You are the warden in your family, and you control everybody there. You treat them as though they're beneath you. Those are your prisoners. It's definitely not a loving dynamic. And you even have men that have never been to prison, and this is how they behave. So this lets you know that this is a systemic issue. They're being systemically miseducated in this way. And most, if not almost all men manifest this behavior because our societies groom them and miseducate them to be this way. So like I said, I'm not even blaming the men 100% for being this way, because it's society. Societies do this. And women obviously are becoming hip to the games, and that's why more and more women are choosing to stay single, because we're just not willing to accept those type of dynamics. You know, and we want partners that are going to desire equality and equity, you know, in all the things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to get up here and tell you what it is that I want with a man, because I can already tell you with all the stuff that I done put on my channel. I already know. I get it. Predators are going to study my stuff. They're going to think they're going to try to slide into my life. Like, I'm not going to know that's what they're doing. Oh, come on, I'm always ready. And then God gives me the discernment. So, you know, I know when you're pretending, and, you know, I don't know, I'm just at and above a certain age where I can just listen to dudes now, and I can just tell that you're going to be one of those dudes. You have that archetype where you're literally weaponizing psychology speak. Like, you make it look as though you've been to therapy. But in reality, if you have been to therapy, it's just you learned the lingo to try to use it against women. Use it against unsuspecting people. I'm going to know the difference. And if I don't know the difference, please know God will tell me. Yes, He will. I need us as men and women to be able to sharpen your discernment. Only with God can He help you with this. I would suggest that everybody educate yourself. Pray about it. Pray about everyone in your circle. Pray that God reveal what needs to be revealed. And stay safe out there, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good one.